Hello, I'm Katlife, and I'm here with another guide. Now, it's the preseason, and I know everyone's wondering, what should I build? What should I go? Well, I'm pretty much here to tell you guys exactly how I prepared for the preseason. Keep note, guys, that it's just the preseason. There's gonna be a lot of different shit that might get changed. Like runes might get nerfed or buffed, items might get changed, I don't know, champions even. It's just the beginning. But I'm here to pretty much give you guys a solid foundation on how you should play out the preseason as of right now. Hopefully this helps you prepare for Season 8 when it comes out around January. And remember that nothing is actually official, but once the preseason ends, I will make another guide pretty much explaining exactly what I feel like is best. But it's just the beginning, so I'm gonna give you guys the initial thoughts on what I think is good for the beginning of this preseason. Now first, I want to talk about the runes. I think there's only two real viable options when it comes to you picking the perfect rune for Katarina. It's either Electrocute or Dark Harvest. Other honorable mentions would be like Ares. Summon Ares is actually not too bad. Comet is okay too, but Katarina can't use it like a lot of other champions can. But other than those two, I don't see any other runes being as good as Dark Harvest and Electrocute. Now, between Electrocute and Dark Harvest, I think Electrocute is way better than Dark Harvest. Electrocute is way more consistent, and there's going to be a lot of other mid laners using Electrocute as well. So in that sense, you want to be able to pressure them back evenly. Dark Harvest can actually be really strong and it has a lot of potential on Katarina. Just the problem is it takes way too long to ramp up. But the thing is, Dark Harvest works super well with Katarina. You pretty much pick up souls every time a champion dies near you. So when it comes to team fighting, you can pretty much proc Dark Harvest 5 times. And I think that's why it's really strong, because Katarina is able to throw out her auto attack Dark Harvest proc very easily. But again, it takes way too long to ramp up. You don't have any pressure early game with Dark Harvest. So if anything, I would prefer to use Dark Harvest in another lane, maybe in the jungle, maybe top lane. But in the mid lane, you're not going to be able to stack it up as fast unless you're snowballing. But then again, you're not going to be able to snowball every game. If you snowball with Dark Harvest and get it stacked fast, it's going to be incredibly strong. But in slow games, where nothing's really guaranteed, Dark Harvest is going to feel super slow. But again, Electrocute is probably the most optimal rune for Katarina in the mid lane. If I were to go down this tree, I would go Sudden Impact, Eyeball Collection, and Ravenous Hunter. Sudden Impact is good because you get the pen every time you blink. That's really good for Katarina. It synergizes very well with her. Eyeball Collection just because of the damage. You get stacks per takedown. Katarina can stack it up pretty fast. Now for this last section, there's either Ravenous Hunter or Relentless Hunter. I tried both, and I prefer Ravenous Hunter over Relentless Hunter. And the reason why is Ravenous Hunter actually feels really good because you're getting that extra heal off of your spells, and on top of that, you got the Gunblade heal. And it actually heals a pretty big amount. And I think it's very noticeable when you're fighting around the mid game. And it does make you that much harder to kill, like just a little bit more tanky, if you know what I mean. I think Relentless Hunter is good too, but I don't see that big of a difference. If you just play well and you know how to maneuver around the map, that extra movement speed won't help you as much. But when it comes to fights, Ravenous Hunter definitely makes a bigger impact. Now for the secondary tree, you can actually be pretty flexible with this because I feel like a lot of these trees are viable. There's Precision. On the Precision tree, you would probably get Triumph and Coup de Grace. Triumph pretty much heals you every time there's a takedown. So whether you get an assist or whatever, you heal 15% of your health. That's a lot of fucking health. There is a slight delay on it, so you don't get it instantly like Dangerous Game did, but it's still very good. And there's also Coup de Grace, which will help you get more resets because it deals more damage to champions that are lower than 40% health. I think both of these are really good and they really complement her resets. Triumph will pretty much heal you after every reset, and Coup de Grace will help you get the reset if they're low enough. Now there's the Sorcery Tree. Under the Sorcery Tree, I would probably go Absolute Focus and Gathering Storm. This type of setup is used if you want a lot of AP, a lot of flat damage. It does give you more damage than the other trees under the right circumstances. Other options you could go is Nullifying Orb and Ultimate Hat. Nullifying Orb is kind of like a Hex Drinker. So if you're looking to all in, you'll have that bit of shield to help you win that all in just slightly. And then you also got Ultimate Hat. Katarina can stack it relatively fast, but the thing is, I think at max cooldown with 40% CDR and 15% stacked on the ultimate hat, your ulti's at like 23 seconds. That's not very good because after you get one reset, you're gonna have to wait like 6-7 seconds before you get your ultimate up again. And ultimately the goal here to make ultimate hat really effective is get your ulti after one reset. But it seems like 2 resets is as low as you can go to get your ultimate instantly off cooldown. So I don't think it's completely necessary, but if you want, having multiple ultis in a fight is devastating. If you want that and you want to choose that over other things, it's more of a cheesy pick, but that's really up to you. But me personally, Absolute Focus and Gathering Storm seems to be the best setup for me because it gives you a lot of flat damage. Now the last tree I want to talk about is Resolve Tree. This tree you would go if you want to be more tanky in lane. So you can either go Mirror Shell or Iron Skin. It gives you 5 MR or 5 armor, which is good because in this rune setup, no one has any resists if they don't go into this tree. So you'll be at a pretty decent advantage in terms of tankiness. And for the secondary one, I would probably go Second Wind. It's pretty much like a Doran Shield, but it heals missing health, so it's more effective if you're lower. But other than that, it still heals you a bit, and it gives you that bit of extra sustain you need for lane. There's also Overgrowth, which is kind of interesting, but don't get baited by Overgrowth. Right now, Overgrowth is not that good. In one of my games, I had like around 300 farm, and I only got like 200 health off that. I don't think it's worth it. And it was like late game too. 200 health around in the late game is not that good. So pretty much to sum it up, Precision if you want runes that complement your reset mechanic, Sorcery if you want more flat damage, and Resolve if you want to be more tankier in lane. Now we're going to go into the item builds. The item builds haven't really changed, but I do feel like a lot of people don't know how to optimally build Katarina. So I'm here to pretty much show you guys how I adapted to the preseason and what I think is the most consistent build out there right now. So first of all, for the starting items, you got Longsword, Dark Seal, or Doran Shield. Longsword is if you're looking to do a lot of damage, mainly looking to solo kill your enemy. Works pretty well, and on top of that, you do get the adaptive AD, which will pretty much boost your AD up by a lot, and the fact that no one really has resists will make you very strong. Dark Seal is if you want a mix of damage and sustain. It's kind of like the best of both worlds in terms of either building a Longsword or Doran Shield. Dark Seal is kind of just a mix of both. It gives you AP instead of AD, so it doesn't really give you that all-in potential that Longsword gives you, but it does give you that AP if you want to deal a bit more damage. But the thing is, Dark Seal isn't as optimal when it comes to all-inning just because AD is way better in terms of all-inning than AP. But you get 3 buff potions, so it does give you pretty good sustain as well. Or you can get Doran Shield in harder matchups. I think Doran Shield is actually a really good item in harder lanes. Remember that you don't really get the extra damage that the other 2 items give you. So mainly you're just looking to farm out sustain, and poke out your enemy. Honestly, with all these items, you can all-in pretty easily just because of the nature of Katarina. But just know that leading up to solo kills, you're going to have to play differently with all 3 of these items. Now, the first core complete item you want to build is Gunblade. Gunblade is, without a doubt, the best item on Katarina. It gives you a bursty active, it gives you AD, it gives you AP, and it gives you heal. No other item can match up to what Gunblade gives. If you're trying to build anything else, just know that your damage is gonna drop. Gunblade is just too good of an item on Katarina, and you should be building it every game. So next, I want to talk about boots. Now, boots don't really have a specific place in the build. And what I mean by that is like, Gunblade you have to build first, but boots you can kind of finish whenever you have the money or whenever the gold seems right. But I usually like to go boots after my Gunblade just for that movement speed because Katarina loves movement speed. Now I prefer the defensive boots over the Cirque shoes, and I'm going to explain why. But getting defensive boots early helps with Katarina's squishiness. Against heavy AD, heavy auto attacks, you go tabbies. Against heavy AP, heavy CC, go Merc Treads. It'll surprisingly go a long way, and it'll fix Katarina just being completely squishy in the early game. I know Katarina's still going to be squishy. You're still going to have to be careful when you go in. But the good thing about it is that it will give you a little bit of survivability for you to stay in fights longer. Now, you can get Sword Shoes too. It does give 15 pen. It does give you a lot of damage. But I would prefer the defensive boots, and this is why. The second core item I would go is Void Staff. So pretty much the build would be Gunblade, Void Staff, Boots. That's your core early to mid game build. And let me explain to you why. Nobody has MR or armor in the beginning. Champions you verse in the mid lane won't really have MR or armor. So getting that extra sorks will help you do damage, but you'll still be doing a lot of damage anyway because they don't have any MR for you. So that's why I like to go defensive boot, just to get a little advantage in terms of tankiness. And then I go Void Staff, because first of all, in the runes, there's really no way to get any magic pen besides sudden impact. So you won't really have any source of pen. But the thing is that makes Void Staff a little bit more efficient, because the way Void Staff works is that they take 40% of the enemy's MR away. Generally, you don't want any pen before building Void Staff, because that'll hinder the percentage of MR the Void Staff will take away from the enemy. If I build Sork Shoes, how it works is enemy has 30 MR. Sork Shoes will come first. Flat pen gets calculated in first. So Sork Shoes gives what? 18? Then they'll have 12 MR left. And then Void Staff will take 40% away from that 12, making Void Staff less efficient. Now, I know what you're thinking. You might be asking me, why don't you get Haunting Guys and Sork Shoes and bringing down to flat 0 that way? The thing is, if you go flat pen, it'll be very efficient in the early to mid game. But once it gets deeper into the mid to late game, you're gonna need a Void Staff, without a question. Void Staff and Gunblade are both complete necessary items on Katarina if you want to build her optimally. You're combining these items early in order for you to get those out of the way, because Katarina can get away with just building full damage early to mid game, as long as you don't set yourself behind in lane too much. And even if you're in a difficult matchup, you can build Merc Treads or Tabbies to help you gain more survivability. So in terms of Void Staff versus flat pen like Haunting Guys and Sork Shoes, Void Staff is better because it's good throughout the entire game. If the enemy starts building MR, you're like, damn, I need to build Void Staff. Well, get that shit out of the way first and then start building into your other items, so you don't have to worry about building pen when the enemy gets too tanky. So this is pretty much the core build. Gunblade, Void Staff, boots. Gunblade for damage, Void Staff for pen, and whatever boots you want. That's pretty much all the important stats you need early to mid game for Katarina. Damage, pen, and movement speed. Now after this core build, you can pretty much build whatever the fuck you want. You want to be an AP carry? Build any of these items. You want to be an AP bruiser carry? You can build any of these items too. But just remember that when you go tank item, you don't want to stack too many tank items or else you're going to lose a lot of damage. So maybe just build one, if anything. Hey, if you want to go AP bruiser support carry, you can build these items. If you want to say fuck it, you want to go AP bruiser support carry jungler, build a fucking Cinder Hulk tracker's knife. Look, obviously I'm joking, but I'm trying to prove a point that Katarina is one of those champions that can build a lot of different shit, as long as you have the core item set. As long as you have your Gunblade, as long as you have your Void Staff, you should be set to build almost whatever the fuck you want. That's the beauty of Katarina. And it's preseason. I'm encouraging you guys to be creative. Get creative with the builds. Prepare yourself for the next season. Build a bunch of different items, see how you like it, and forge your playstyle that way. Now, one last thing that I want to talk about is Stopwatch. Stopwatch is 600 gold and you get a free Zanyas. If you ever need this in lane, if you want to buy this against like Fizz, Zed, Orianna, whoever, Syndra, feel free to build it. It's super cheap and it has a very good effect. So stick that in the build somewhere whenever you need it. That was pretty much a video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Remember that this is the start of preseason. Bunch of things can change by around January when preseason ends. There is no best rune, there is no best build right now. There will be a lot of playtesting before we can figure out what's the best for this season. So try different things out. I gave you guys pretty much a basis of what I feel like is good and is optimal. Even for the item builds, I gave you a core build that'll pretty much allow you to build a lot of different items, so you can try out new builds and stuff like that. I'm going to be doing a lot of playtesting too, so when the preseason ends, I'm probably going to make another video pretty much concluding what I think is the best for this season. There will be a lot of nerfs, there will be a lot of changes, so remember that nothing is set in stone. If you want to see me playtest and learn about the game and all that stuff, make sure to follow me on Twitch, make sure to subscribe to my YouTube, and I'll be making a bunch of videos for the preseason. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video.
Okay, it's Childish, Gambino, homegirl dropping like the NASDAQ. Move white girls like this coat up my ass crack. Move black girls, cause man, fuck it, I'll do either. I love pussy, I love bitches, dude. I should be running Peter in Adidas with some short shorts. B-O-O all over me, my green.